The hospital's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Sarah pulled off her surgical mask. Another grueling 12-hour shift had drained every ounce of energy from her body. She glanced at her watch, 11:47 p.m. Her husband Rohit would be asleep by now. Her phone vibrated. An unknown number. "Dr. Sarah, this is Mahesh from your building. I think you should know something. Please call me." Sarah's heart skipped. Mahesh, their building valet, had never contacted her directly. Her fingers trembled as she dialed. "Mahesh, what's wrong?" There was a heavy pause. "Ma'am, I don't know how to say this. Sir left the apartment an hour ago. With a woman. They seem very close." The world tilted. "What do you mean?" "Ma'am, I'm sending you a photo." The image loaded slowly. There was Rohit, her husband of 7 years, stepping into a sleek black BMW, his hand on a woman's back. The woman wore a shimmering red dress, her long dark hair catching the light. But what made Sarah's blood run cold wasn't the woman. It was Rohit's smile, that boyish grin she hadn't seen in months. Where did they go? Sarah's voice was strangled. "Toward Bandra, ma'am." "I heard the woman mention the usual place." The usual place. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was routine. 20 minutes later, Sarah confronted Mahesh in person. "Did you notice anything else?" Mahesh shifted uncomfortably. "Sir has been leaving late at night for 2 weeks now. Always around 10:30 p.m., after you leave for work. He comes back early morning, before you return." 2 weeks. Sarah's mind reeled. 2 weeks ago, Rohit had suddenly become attentive, bringing her coffee, asking about her day, suggesting a vacation. She'd thought their marriage was healing. Now she understood it was guilt. Her cover, back in their apartment, Sarah looked around with new eyes. Everything seemed tainted. She walked to Rohit's study, a room he kept locked for important documents. She'd never questioned it, respecting his privacy. Using the emergency key, she unlocked the door. The study was immaculate. She opened his laptop and tried passwords until their first meeting date worked. 14-02-2015. In the download folder, she found banking_summary_deck_2024.pdf. Her stomach dropped. Transfers of 50,000 Indian rupees every week for 6 months. All going to Kavya Merchants Private Limited. Total, 12 Indian rupees locks. Nearly their entire savings. Her phone buzzed. Rohit, working late at the office. "Don't wait up. Love you." The casual lie felt like a slap. Another message from Mahesh. "Ma'am, sir just returned. The woman is not with him." Sarah quickly photographed the bank document and locked the study. She was pretending to sleep when Rohit came home. Smelling of expensive cologne, he didn't owe WN's dawn broke. Sarah made a decision. She wouldn't confront him yet. She would investigate first. Sarah called in sick for the first time in 3 years. After Rohit left for work with a tender kiss on her forehead, she opened her laptop and searched for Kavya Merchants Private Limited. Nothing existed, no website, no social media, no business listings. A ghost company. She called her friend Priya, a corporate lawyer. "Priya, I need you to investigate a company." Discreetly. "Kavya Merchants Private Limited." "Sarah, this sounds serious." "Are you okay?" "I will be. Once I know the truth." While waiting, Sarah examined the photo Mahesh had sent. Something about the woman seemed familiar. She scrolled through Rohit's social media and found a photo from his firm's annual dinner 3 weeks ago, an event she'd missed due to work. There, on the far right, stood a woman in a blue sari. Same profile, same elegant posture. The caption read, "Special thanks to Kavya for organizing such a wonderful event." Kavya. The woman had a name. And she worked at Rohit's firm. Sarah drove to the Grand Regency Hotel in Bandra, the location tagged in the dinner photo. At the concierge desk, she showed the valet's photo. "I'm trying to locate my husband. He mentioned meeting someone here." The young concierge hesitated, then whispered, "Room 412. They've had a standing reservation every Tuesday and Friday night for a month." "But ma'am, I never saw you here." Tuesday and Friday, her late shift nights. Rohit had planned around her schedule. "Is he here now?" "No, ma'am. Their usual time is 10 p.m. onwards." It was Tuesday. Tonight he would be here, Priya called back. "Kavya Merchants is registered to Kavya Sharma. The company was incorporated 6 months ago, right when the transfer started. It's essentially a shell. No physical location, no employees. And Sarah, Kavya Sharma started working at Rohit's firm 8 months ago. Before that, she was based in Delhi. Can you find out more about her background? I'll try. But Sarah, this could be fraud or money laundering. If Rohit's involved in something illegal, that's what I'm trying to find out. At home, Sarah searched methodically through their belongings. In a box of Rohit's college memorabilia, she found an old diary. Flipping through, she reached an entry from March 2015, a month after they'd started dating. Met with Kay today. She's still angry, still hurt. I tried to explain that Sarah is different. Kay said I made my choice, and she'll make hers. She laughed and said, "You'll owe me a lot more than you think, Rohit." Kay Kavya? Sarah checked Rohit's jacket and found a receipt from a jewelry store. Yesterday's date. Purchase, 1.8 Indian rupees locks, the bracelet. In Mahesh's photo, the woman in red wore a diamond bracelet. That evening, Sarah followed Rohit. But he didn't go to the hotel. Instead, he parked at a small office building in a side street. Kavya arrived 20 minutes later with two men in business suits carrying briefcases. This wasn't a romantic meeting. This was business. After an hour, they emerged. Kavya handed Rohit an envelope. He opened it, and his face went pale. She touched his arm, not romantically, but reassuringly, then left with the two men. Rohit drove to a 24-hour cafe, where Sarah watched him open the envelope and pull out photographs. His hands shook. He made a phone call, his face twisted in anguish as Sarah's phone buzzed. Priya, Kavya Sharma isn't her real name. She changed it 6 months ago. Her real name, Kavya Deshmukh. She was engaged to Arjun Deshmukh, who died 8 years ago. He was Rohit's best friend from college. Sending you a news article. The headline read, "Architecture Student Dies in Construction Site Accident. Negligence Suspected." Arjun Deshmukh, 25, had died in 2017 when scaffolding collapsed at a construction site overseen by final-year architecture students. The students in charge, Rohit Malhotra and 2 others. The investigation was dropped due to insufficient evidence. Sarah looked at her husband's anguished face through the cafe window. This wasn't an affair. This was revenge. Sarah spent the night researching Arjun's death. The scaffolding collapse had killed him instantly. Safety violations were noted: inadequate support, missing harnesses, lack of supervision. The contractor had disappeared. The case went cold. She found an old blog post by Arjun's sister, Mira. "My brother was going to propose to Kavya that week. Those boys, his friends, walked away without consequence. Kavya became a shadow. She left Mumbai, cut off everyone. I haven't seen her in 7 years. At dawn, Sarah returned home. Rohit was asleep, still clothed. The envelope lay on the nightstand. Sarah opened it. Inside were copies of old emails between Rohit and his colleagues from 2017. The scaffolding looks unstable. Should we shut down the site? We're behind schedule. The review board comes next week. If we delay, we fail. But what if something goes wrong? Nothing will go wrong. We just need to pass the inspection." Another email 2 days before the accident. "I'm seriously worried. The scaffolding is unsafe. We should shut it down. We can't. The board expects progress. No one's going up during inspection. After we get our grades, we'll report the issues." But they never got the chance. Arjun had gone up to help them prepare and died. These emails proved negligence. If they became public, Rohit could face criminal charges. The photographs also showed bank records. Rohit's colleagues were also paying Kavya. They were all being blackmailed. Sarah visited Nikhil Saxena, one of Rohit's college friends. He confirmed everything. "Kavya approached us 6 months ago with evidence. Emails, safety reports we ignored, witness testimony. She demanded 12 Indian rupees locks from each of us, paid monthly. In exchange, she wouldn't go to the police. The money was supposedly for Arjun's mother. But why the new photographs? I don't know. She's escalating. Our friend Pratik tried to negotiate last month, said he couldn't keep paying. Maybe this is her response." Sarah called Priya to verify if the money actually went to Arjun's mother. "Mrs. Deshmukh is in a care facility in Pune," Priya reported. "Her fees are covered by government assistance. She hasn't received any private payments, so the money wasn't for Arjun's mother. Where was it going?" And Sarah, Priya continued, Pratik Joshi was arrested 3 days ago for embezzlement. An anonymous tip triggered the investigation. Guess who made the complaint? Kavya. Sarah's blood ran cold. Kavya wasn't just seeking money. She was systematically destroying them. Looking at Mahesh's photo again, Sarah noticed what she'd missed before. Rohit's smile wasn't happiness, it was desperation. Kavya's hand on his arm wasn't intimate, it was controlling. Sarah called Mahesh. What did they say that night? The lady said, "Tomorrow is the deadline. Don't make me take the next step." Sir looked very upset. Tomorrow was today. Sarah called Kavya's number, which Nikhil provided. This isn't Rohit. This is his wife. Long pause. Dr. Sarah Malhotra. I know who you are. You save lives. You're everything your husband pretends to be. What do you want from him? What they took from me. Everything. At 9 p.m. tonight, I'm meeting a journalist. I'm giving her all the evidence. Your husband will be destroyed. Career, reputation, freedom. Just like Arjun's future was destroyed because they cared more about grades than his life. And the money. Test. To see if they'd show remorse. They paid, but not once did they apologize. They treated it like a business transaction. Just like they treated Arjun's life. Sarah heard years of pain in Kavya's voice. What happened was terrible. They should face consequences. But destroying their lives won't bring him back. No. But it will give him justice. I had no part in this. But if you do this, you'll destroy me too. Is that justice? Kavya hesitated. I'm sorry, but sometimes good people pay for the sins of those they love. Let me talk to Rohit first. Let me understand his side. Then I'll decide what he deserves. Please. Silence. Then, room 412, Grand Regency. 9 p.m. Bring your husband. We'll all decide together what justice looks like. Sarah called Rohit. Room 412, Grand Regency, 9 p.m. I know everything. We're facing this together. The Grand Regency's lobby felt different at night. Sarah waited by the elevators, watching for Rohit. He arrived at 8:45 p.m., looking like he'd aged years. When he saw Sarah, his face collapsed. Sarah, not here. Room 412. In the elevator, Rohit leaned against the wall, eyes glistening. You know everything. I know about Arjun. The blackmail. The accident. What I don't know is why you didn't tell me. 7 years of marriage, and you couldn't trust me because I was ashamed. Every time I looked at you, saving lives every day, I saw what I wasn't. You're everything good, Sarah. And I let someone die because I was too cowardly to do the right thing. So you've been lying for 8 years? I didn't lie. I just never told you. When we met, it had been 2 years. I convinced myself I could build a new life, be a good husband, and somehow earn redemption. Redemption isn't earned by hiding, Rohit. It's earned by facing what you've done. They reached room 412. Kavya opened the door. In person, she was striking, not with obvious beauty, but with intensity. She wore simple jeans and a kurta, her eyes holding depths of pain. Dr. Malhotra. Mr. Malhotra. Come in. The room was sparse. A laptop sat on a desk, files stacked beside it. Kavya gestured for them to sit. Thank you for coming. I want you both to understand what happened. Not the sanitized version from investigation reports, but the truth. Kavya sat across from them, her hands folded. Arjun and I were going to get married. He was excited about the future, his career, our life together. That week, he was helping his best friends prepare for their thesis review. He trusted them completely. Her voice cracked. The day he died, he called me. He said the site looked unsafe, but Rohit and the others insisted everything was fine. They needed to pass the review. Arjun wanted to help them succeed, so he went up to inspect the scaffolding himself, to make sure it would look good for the board. Tears streamed down her face. He died helping you. And you let it happen because your grades mattered more than his life. Rohit's face was ashen. Kavya, I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. Not a day goes by that I don't think about it. I was young and stupid and scared of failing. I made a terrible choice, and Arjun paid the price. I deserve everything you're doing to me. Sorry. Kavya's voice turned sharp. You've had 8 years to say sorry. You moved on, got married, built a successful career. While I fell apart. While Arjun's mother lost her mind to grief and now doesn't even remember her son existed. Sarah spoke quietly. The money you're collecting, it's not going to his mother, is it? Kavya looked at her surprised. No. It's going to a scholarship fund in Arjun's name. For architecture students from low-income families. I wanted something good to come from this nightmare. But the money was never the point. The point was to see if any of you would take responsibility. If any of you would show real remorse. And we failed that test, Rohit said quietly. You treated it like a business problem. Pay the blackmailer, make it go away. Just like you treated the safety violations, ignore them, hope they go away. Kavya opened her laptop. In 10 minutes, I'm sending all the evidence to a journalist. The emails, the witness statements, everything. You'll face the consequences you should have faced 8 years ago. Sarah's heart pounded. She looked at Rohit, this man she'd loved for 7 years, who'd made a terrible mistake when he was young and had been too afraid to face it. She thought about the thousands of patients she treated, people who'd made mistakes, hurt others, and sought redemption. Kavya, Sarah said slowly, you have every right to be angry. What they did was inexcusable. But destroying Rohit now won't bring Arjun back. It won't heal your pain. It will just create more destruction. He deserves to be destroyed. Maybe. But do I? Do the patients at Rohit's firm who depend on the buildings he now designs with obsessive safety standards? Do the families of his employees? Sarah paused. I'm not asking you to forgive him. I'm asking you to choose what kind of justice you want. Punitive or restorative. Kavya stared at her. What are you suggesting? Rohit faces what he did. Publicly. Not through a journalist's expose, but through his own confession. He establishes a foundation in Arjun's name, not just a scholarship, but something that promotes construction safety. He dedicates his career to making sure what happened to Arjun never happens to anyone else. Sarah looked at her husband. And he lives every day knowing he has to earn the right to that second chance. Rohit was crying now. I'll do it. All of it. Whatever it takes. Kavya sat in silence, her finger hovering over the send button. Minutes passed. Finally, she closed the laptop. I don't forgive you, she said to Rohit. I may never forgive you. But Dr. Malhotra is right. Arjun wouldn't want more destruction. He wants something good to come from this. She stood. You have 1 month to establish the foundation. To make your confession public. To prove you mean what you say. If you don't, I send everything. Understood. Understood, Rohit whispered. Kavya looked at Sarah. I'm sorry I dragged you into this. You didn't deserve that. No, Sarah said. But sometimes we're dragged into things so we can help make them right. 3 weeks later, Sarah sat in the audience as Rohit stood at a podium before a gathering of architecture students, professors, and industry professionals. His hands shook as he held his prepared statement. My name is Rohit Malhotra, and 8 years ago, I made a choice that cost my best friend his life. The room went silent. For the next 30 minutes, Rohit detailed everything, the safety violations he'd ignored, the pressure he'd felt, the choice he'd made to prioritize his grades over safety. He read the emails aloud, his voice breaking multiple times. I've carried this guilt for 8 years, but I carried it in silence. That silence made me a coward twice, once when I failed Arjun, and again when I failed to take responsibility. Today, that silence ends. He announced the Arjun Deshmukh Foundation for Construction Safety, funded initially by the money he, Nikhil, and Pratik had paid Kavya, plus matching funds from their own savings. The foundation would provide scholarships, safety training, and advocacy for better regulations. This doesn't erase what I did. Nothing can. But it's a start toward making sure Arjun's death means something. That it prevents future tragedies. When Rohit finished, the room was silent. Then, from the back, someone began to clap. Sarah turned to see Kavya standing there, tears streaming down her face, applauding slowly. Others joined, not in celebration, but in acknowledgement of truth told and accountability taken. Afterward, Rohit's firm issued a statement. Some clients left. Others stayed, respecting his honesty. Criminal investigations were launched, but ultimately, due to the time elapsed and lack of direct evidence, no charges were filed. The court of public opinion was harsher, Rohit's reputation took a severe hit. But slowly, steadily, the foundation grew. Safety standards improved. Lives were saved. At home, Sarah and Rohit began the harder work of rebuilding their marriage. Trust, once broken, doesn't heal overnight. They started therapy, learning to communicate honestly for the first time. "Do you forgive me?" Rohit asked one night, lying beside her in the darkness. "I'm learning to," Sarah said truthfully. "But Rohit, I'm also learning who you really are. Not the man I thought I married, but the man you actually are, flawed, capable of terrible mistakes, but also capable of facing them. I don't know if that's enough yet, but I'm willing to find out. That's more than I deserve. Maybe. But love isn't about deserving. It's about choosing. Every day, I'm choosing to stay and see if we can build something honest from these ruins." 6 months later, Sarah attended the Foundation's first scholarship ceremony. 5 students received funding. One of them was the daughter of a construction worker who died in a workplace accident. Kavya attended too. She and Sarah had developed an unlikely friendship, bonded by their shared experience of loving flawed men and choosing how to respond. "How are you?" Sarah asked. "Better. Therapy helps. And knowing something good is coming from Arjun's death, it doesn't erase the pain, but it makes it bearable." Kavya smiled sadly. "Thank you for that night. For suggesting a different path. Thank you for taking it." As Sarah watched the scholarship recipients, she thought about that night Mahesh had sent her the photo, the night her world had shattered. She believed her husband was having an affair. The truth had been far more complex, far more painful, and ultimately far more human. Rohit wasn't a villain. He was a man who'd made a terrible mistake and then compounded it by hiding. Kavya wasn't just a vengeful woman. She was someone drowning in grief who'd sought justice the only way she knew how. And Sarah? She'd learned that love isn't about perfect people making perfect choices. It's about flawed people deciding whether to face the truth together or let it destroy them. Her phone buzzed. A message from Mahesh. "Ma'am, I hope all is well with you. I sometimes worry I caused problems by sending that photo." Sarah typed back, "You didn't cause problems, Mahesh. You revealed them." And that made all the difference. Because sometimes, the hardest truths are the ones we need most. The lies we tell ourselves and each other might feel safer, but they're just scaffolding built on weak foundations, and eventually, they always collapse. The question isn't whether the collapse will come. It's what we choose to build from the ruins afterward. And Sarah, standing there watching young students receive opportunities born from tragedy, knew they were building something true. Something that might, one day, feel like redemption. Not for what was lost. Nothing could restore that. But for what remained. A chance to live honestly, love truthfully, and turn devastating mistakes into meaningful change. It wasn't the ending she'd imagined that night in the hospital parking lot. But it was real. And that, Sarah had learned, was worth more than any perfect lie. Then,